Hello and welcome to Wrestling Trope Alert, the channel where we analyze professional wrestling. If this is your first time here, help the channel by clicking the subscribe button. Today we are going back to the late 80s and we are going to talk about the 7 gimmicks that Mark Calloway had before his time as The Undertaker in the WWE. In 1986, young 21-year-old Mark Calloway, the man that would become The Undertaker, was attending the Texas Wesleyan University in Texas, majoring in sports management and playing as a center for the Rams basketball team. Young Undertaker's future, as it was related to basketball, meant leaving for Europe because of the lack of interest from teams in the NBA. But fortunately for young Undertaker, apparently in Europe the sport of basketball was considered to be rougher, so young Undertaker had to gain some muscle mass in order to compete in the European basketball leagues. One day, while in the gym working out, young Undertaker was convinced by a friend to give professional wrestling a try. At this time, young Undertaker was a lapsed fan, but soon fell under the professional wrestling spell once again and decided to leave both a basketball career in Europe and the completion of his college studies behind. Young Undertaker and a few other like-minded individuals soon found someone to train them, a wrestler with an extensive amateur career, Buzz Sawyer. Young Undertaker borrowed and begged to come up with the exorbitant $2,000 fee for the privilege of training with Buzz Sawyer, but Sawyer's work ethic as a trainer soon proved to be lacking.
I hooked up with Buzz Sawyer, and I got to come up with $2,000, and I ain't got a pot or a window to throw it out of, right? It just stretches the shit out of everybody, right? Like cross-face, amateur position, just stretch you and cross-face you and everything. Just hooking everybody, and so this goes on for weeks. Still no wrestling ring. I think we'd maybe learned to lock up and take an arm, all in the driveway in the front yard, you know. Each time we'd show up, there'd be a few less guys, until I was the last one there.
One day, Buzz Sawyer vanished without a trace, leaving for a different territory with young Undertaker's money. Young Undertaker was left without the rest of the training he had paid for and 2 rottweilers.
Knock on the door. He never answers, right? So I start peering in the windows. He just left. He had 2 really nice rottweilers. So I stole his rottweilers. His whole deal was a scam from the start.
The Buzz Sawyer incident fortunately didn't derail young Undertaker's path to professional wrestling. Becoming enamored with his form of entertainment and working side jobs as a bouncer and a debt collector, young Undertaker soon started to make the rounds in the local independent wrestling shows. This leads us to the very first of the 7 gimmicks that young Undertaker would have before his time in Vince McMahon's company. The very first gimmick that The Undertaker ever had was Commando, a gimmick for which there only exists a couple of pictures in the wild.
What do you remember about performing under the name Commando?
Wow, it was a struggle. I was making absolutely no money. My dad gave me some great advice. The toes you step on the way to the top are connected to the asses you're gonna have to kiss on the way back down.
It is, however, safe to assume that the Commando gimmick was at least in part inspired by the hugely successful 1985 Arnold Schwarzenegger movie of the same name. Young Undertaker needed to find a way to get on TV so he could earn a decent living. Young Undertaker, the Texas native, decided that the only way to get booked was to sit every Wednesday in the office lobby of local Texas promotion World Class Championship Wrestling, hoping to catch someone's eye at their weekly meeting.
The Von Erichs ran Dallas, World Class Championship Wrestling. And I knew that they were in the office on Wednesday. The guys would come in, get their paychecks, and every Wednesday for about 8 months, I'd sit in the lobby, and guys would walk right by me, not even acknowledge my presence. There was a referee back there, his name was Bronko Lubich. He was the only one that would speak to me. You here again, huh, kid? Yes, sir, Mr. Lubich. Hoping maybe I'd get a chance to talk to somebody today. All right, well, good luck.
One day, when young Undertaker was almost at the point of quitting, the man in charge, WCCW boss Fritz Von Erich, walks in the building and acknowledges young Undertaker.
I was right at the end of my ride. I was like, fuck, I'm not getting anywhere here. The guy that owned the company, Fritz Von Erich, came in, walked in, and he stopped. And he looked at me, started to get up, and introduce myself, and turned around and went into Bronko's office. And he had a deep, gravelly voice, and I could hear him. Who's that kid out there? He's been coming here for months. He's just trying to get booked. Book him Friday night. I want to see what he can do. He looks just like David, one of his sons that he had lost. I looked a lot like David. That's how I got my first break.
Young Undertaker was scheduled to wrestle against the madman of professional wrestling, Bruiser Brody, possibly the hardest match for a rookie against a wrestler who is widely regarded as one of the most savage performers inside and outside of the ring. Young Undertaker would wrestle under a mask going by the name Texas Red, and in his corner would be Percy Pringle III, the man who years later became both the on-screen father and manager to the Undertaker character Paul Bearer.
Bruiser Brody's my first professional match, right?
I was his first manager in his first match at the Sportatorium in Dallas.
21 maybe.
Weighing in at 315 pounds, Percy Pringle presents Texas Red.
My first match is with Bruiser Brody. You couldn't have drove a nail up my ass with a sledgehammer. I'm so nervous to start with. Stupid Gene flips on the back of your head, and I'm looking at him, I'm going, fuck, I'm bigger than he is. Bell rings, and boom, I tie up with him, collar and elbow, and jam him up into a corner. He's, hey, kid, lighten up a little bit, kid. Relax. My body's like angle iron, right? I'm so just, so I go to shove him. My hand slips off, kind of palm him, and I clip him in the chin a little bit, right? Temperature in the room changed a little bit at that moment. So we tie up again.
If this man wants to get rid of you, he will.
Armbar by Bruiser Brody on Texas Red.
I gotta shoot him across the ring, and I'm gonna hit him with a clothesline. Clothesline, right?
Now you're calling the match.
I'm calling the match. He comes off the ropes like a 6'5", 300-pound bullet. That furry boot come up out of nowhere, man, and it, wham! He kicks me square in my jaw. Next thing I know, he's grabbing me.
Brody with that big elbow to take young Texas Red down.
Throws me out of the ring, throws me down on this table. He takes this chair, he swings as hard as he can. Full force. There were slats of wood flying everywhere. This chair just fucking explodes. I've never been hit that hard by anything at that point. He throws me back in the ring, ties me all up in the ropes, right? I'm greener, don't know what the hell I'm doing. And he just starts hitting the other ropes and coming and just kicking me as hard as he can in the head. And I deserved it. And he was giving me a lesson that I needed to learn. Anyway, a couple of minutes later, boom, he pins me. We go back to the dressing room, and I went over to him. Mr. Brody, thank you. He said, all right, kid, just, relax next time, will you?
After the debut match against Bruiser Brody, young Undertaker's time with WCCW would be short but valuable, affording young Undertaker some valuable experience wrestling other ring-experienced wrestlers like the spoiler Don Jardine, the wrestler known for walking the ropes, a move that the Undertaker would borrow in the years that followed.
Calls himself Master of Pain.
I've been in the Atlanta State Penitentiary. I went up there on a bad rap. Some punks jumped me in a parking lot, and now they're pushing up daisies. Jerry Lawler, whatever you call yourself, brother, if you get out alive, you'll be thankful.
By 1989, all the long-running territories were struggling to stay alive under the onslaught of Vince McMahon's nationwide expansion. Vince McMahon started buying out all the territories that he could and drove out of business those that he couldn't. The Memphis promotion Continental Wrestling Association (CWA) merged with the Texas promotion World Class Championship Wrestling (WCCW). They formed the United States Wrestling Association (USWA) in a merger that was also meant to include the American Wrestling Association (the AWA) as a partner. Jerry the King Lawler, who was the AWA World Champion, beat Fritz Von Erich for the WCCW World title, making Lawler the champion in theory of all three promotions. But not a month later passed before the egos of Vern Gagne, Fritz Von Erich and Jerry Lawler collided, and their shaky alliance fell through, leaving the title that Lawler carried no longer being recognized by the AWA. Amidst all this chaos in the territories, young Undertaker would join the Memphis promotion, aligning with Dutch Mantel and Ronnie Gossett for two things: squash the local enhancement talent and feud with the promotion's top wrestler, future horniest man on commentary, Jerry the King Lawler. In the Memphis territory, young Undertaker would have an insane amount of enhancement matches against the Memphis jobber contingent, either in singles competition or in tag matches with either Dirty Dutch Mantel, Action Jackson or PY Shuai. Young Undertaker and company would squash some of the finest examples of enhancement talent that Memphis had to offer. Rodney Napper, David Johnson, Hal Hooper, Freezer Thompson, The White Knight, Eli, The Eliminator, and last but not least, the Freddy Krueger ripoff, Nightmare Freddy, because nobody cared about copyright infringement in the 1980s. Young Undertaker's time in the Memphis territory allowed the future Phenom to develop himself into a better in-ring performer, and Young Undertaker's athletic skills were impressive for such a big man. Young Undertaker's in-ring moveset was also starting to take shape. Signature moves that would later be featured as part of The Undertaker's moveset, like the flying clothesline, the highlight drop, were often used in matches with no clear move being used as the finisher. It was also in Memphis that Young Undertaker had his first taste of championship gold. Feuding with Jerry Lawler, Young Undertaker in the Master of Pain persona would be the muscle for the King's feud with Ronnie Gossett and Dutch Mantel. Jerry the King Lawler would lose his controversial USWA Unified World title to the Master of Pain in one of the most overbooked angles ever. On the April 1st, 1989 episode of Memphis Wrestling, Jerry the King Lawler, the Unified Champion, cuts a promo on the Gossett and Dutch posse, who are the heels of this whole situation.
This big fat tub of lard, try to make a shambles out of this wrestling program. I asked Eddie Marlin, I said, Eddie, why would you hire a big fat idiot announcer like this?
I didn't hire him, Lawler.
Eddie Marlin didn't hire this guy. Why would the TV station hire a big fat ugly announcer like this?
We didn't hire him.
Ronnie Gossett, you really don't work here, Ronnie Gossett.
As of right now, you will not be on the show, so you can hit the road, Ronnie Gossett.
As of right now, you have no more business here. Is that right?
That's exactly right.
Lawler then goes to leave, and Gossett strikes Lawler from behind in true heel fashion. White meat babyface Lawler wants Gossett in the ring for some retribution, and then Gossett weaves a web of deceit, trapping Lawler with having to wrestle Young Undertaker. Lawler puts his belt on the line, but wants Dutch to be banned from ringside because of the shenanigans that Dutch is capable of. A lone security guard then drags Dirty Dutch away. Young Undertaker strikes and misses Lawler. Lockup, and the biggest man, Young Undertaker, overpowers Jerry the King Lawler. Undertaker charges Lawler in the corner, Lawler dodges in the nick of time, Lawler with the right hand punches on the biggest man, another lockup, Lawler punches Undertaker's stomach, and Lawler strikes Undertaker in the face. Lawler's offense is blocked, down goes Lawler to his knees, Young Undertaker strikes Lawler, Lawler falls, face first goes Lawler straight into the corner turnbuckle. Another right hand Irish whip into a flying elbow, body slam with authority, center of the ring. Young Undertaker drops the leg from high above, near fall, another body slam, another flying elbow, Lawler dodges, and Undertaker takes out the referee. Lawler puts down the strap of his singlet, meaning that business is about to pick up. Lawler strikes Undertaker with some vicious right hands, Lawler sends Undertaker flying, Undertaker gets up dazed and confused, dropkick by Lawler on the big man, down is the Undertaker as Lawler swings down his fists. A security guard is fighting hard to keep Dutch away from the ring area. High up the ropes, Lawler drops the hand on Young Undertaker, a random Japanese dude shows up, all the heels of the territory show up to get to Lawler as Lawler valiantly fights their onslaught. The referee is distracted, Young Undertaker hits Lawler with a steel pipe, down is Lawler, the referee is dragged back in the ring, and Young Undertaker wins both his match and his first championship title ever, the Unified World Heavyweight title, a title mired in controversy and backstage shenanigans as the heels celebrate in the ring and manager Ronnie Gossett kicks Lawler in the ring for some good old-fashioned heat. Young Undertaker would lose the Unified Heavyweight title back to Lawler 2.5 months later on June 19th, footage of which is unavailable online. Back in the territory days, the heels would always have short runs against the top heroes of the territory, and then they would leave for another different territory. And that's precisely what happened to the young Undertaker character, the Master of Pain. Young Undertaker would again put on a mask and become a different gimmick, the Punisher. No, not that one, this one. Young Undertaker in his Punisher persona would migrate back to the Texas territory, who was now named USWA, the promotion that resulted of the Texas and Memphis territory merger. Young Undertaker's introduction as the Punisher was exactly the same that the Master of Pain enjoyed, now being managed by the legendary manager Skandor Akbar. Young Undertaker would wrestle the Texas Enhancement Talent contingent of names like Billy Joe Travis, Jimmy James, The Scorpion, and many more. Young Undertaker as the Punisher character would also have a USWA Texas heavyweight title rivalry with the promotion's top talent, the son of Fritz Von Erich and the future Texas Tornado, Percy Von Erich. It was also during this time that young Undertaker's friendship with the Godfather Charles Wright started. Charles Wright, who later portrayed Papa Shango, joined the USWA under the awesome moniker The Soul Taker.
They bring in Soul Taker.
I was more wanting to learn, wanted to be part of wrestling, wanted to go further.
They didn't know what to do with him, so they put us together.
When me and Taker talk about wrestling, which we very seldom ever do, it's always about those times.
Also of note from this time frame, the very first Steve Austin vs Undertaker match would happen. Several years before Austin became the Rattlesnake, and still going by his real name Steve Williams, Austin would become a year later the 1990s Rookie of the Year. But this time, Austin would be fed to the Undertaker in a short but sweet match.
And all of a sudden I find out I'm working with the Punisher. You always had this look about you that kind of says, hey, don't F with me.
Intense lockup into the corner, Undertaker stops his offense, both men pace around the ring, another lockup, and Undertaker proceeds to steal the Big Show's move, missing only in the part where Show tells the audience to be quiet. Another lockup, center of the ring, Austin grabs a headlock.
Dude, I don't know if you remember this or not. We locked up. You one tackle, drop down, hip toss, After all those saws, and I've always had a hearing problem. Well, I ain't hearing nothing. And I told you what? And I said what one more time. And after the third what? Bam!
Undertaker gains momentum off the ropes and stomps Austin's blonde head, laying in the canvas. Austin is back into a vertical base helped by the Undertaker. Undertaker strikes Austin, Irish whip into the ropes. Flying high, Undertaker delivers the clothesline, gains momentum off the ropes, and with great elevation, leg drop on Austin. Undertaker pins Austin for the 1-2-3 and wins the first match of that over 170 matches that these two wrestlers would have in the years that followed. By late '89, young Undertaker was becoming a better performer every time he stepped foot in the ring, but the territories were dying. There were now only two places where a professional wrestler could earn a decent living: the World Wrestling Federation and World Championship Wrestling. The promotion that came calling for the young Undertaker was WCW. In wrestling, much of the opportunities afforded to other wrestlers come at the expense of someone else. Like when Austin won the King of the Ring tournament and Austin 316 was born because the man scheduled to win, Triple H, was being punished for the curtain call incident. Young Undertaker's opportunity would also come at the expense of someone else.
Sid got hurt when the Steiners had suplexed Sid, I think broke a rib, punctured his lump. They called down there and said, hey, you want to come up here and be part of the Skyscrapers?
With Sid Vicious out of the picture, the Skyscrapers will reform with the introduction of the Punisher to WCW. Mark Calloway, young Undertaker, would again be reborn as one half of the new Skyscrapers, Mean Mark Callous. Debuting on the B-Show, WCW Saturday Night, for the first time young Undertaker would have the mystique that a man his size was entitled to, despite once again being in the squashing local enhancement talent role. Young Undertaker would sit under the Dan Spivey learning tree and do most of the work, walking the ropes, delivering flying clotheslines and dropping elbows, while Spivey would powerbomb and pick up the wins by pinfall, prior to Sid Vicious Hawk's injury, the main opponents of the Skyscrapers were the Road Warriors, and picking up exactly where Sid Vicious left off, young Undertaker would slot right into the rivalry that was originally planned to culminate in a street fight in the Wrestle War 1990 pay-per-view, but unbeknownst to young Undertaker, his tag team partner, Dangerous Dan Spivey, had other plans. In the Clash of the Champions 10 event, a pay-per-view style event preceding the pay-per-view Wrestle War, the Skyscrapers was scheduled to wrestle the Road Warriors, with a goal to create some buzz and some heat for the next match at the Wrestle War pay-per-view.
Get ready to watch the fight! It's time for the Legion of Doom! What a rush!
Words filled with intensity, immediately sustained by the powerful sight moments later of the Road Warriors walking to the ring.
Danny and I are together. Before we go out, Danny says, just follow my lead, kid.
Hawk locks up with Spivey and grabs a headlock. Hawk gets thrown into the ropes. Hawk gains momentum, shoulder tackle blocked by Dangerous Dan Spivey. Both men lock eyes. Hawk gains momentum off the ropes. Spivey sends Hawk straight to the ropes, but Hawk lands on his feet. Spivey in the ring gloating is unaware. Hawk returns and clothesline the crap out of Spivey. Neckbreaker attempt that Spivey thwarts with the help of young Undertaker. Spivey goes to work on Hawk with some vicious hands and feet. Irish whip for the clothesline, misses once, misses twice. Huge shoulder tackle by Hawk, dropping Dangerous Dan Spivey down to the canvas. Off the ring goes Spivey to gather his thoughts. Back in the ring, Animal and young Undertaker are the legal men. Animal and Undertaker lock up. Undertaker gets pushed towards the rope. The referee attempts to stop this illegal move. Babyface Animal coils his hand, threatening the illegal blow, and eventually complies with the referee's command. Lock up center of the ring, Undertaker grabs a headlock, Undertaker gets pushed to the ropes, Undertaker gains momentum, and off the ropes, Undertaker delivers a very shy shoulder tackle. Animal gives the rookie Undertaker another shot. Off the ropes comes Undertaker, again Undertaker's offense lacking force, failing to take down the Animal. Animal and Undertaker eyeball each other, knee to Animal's stomach, Irish whip reversal, the pace intensifies. Variation of the International ending with Undertaker missing the high crossbody. Animal gains momentum off the ropes. Animal takes care of the Undertaker with the ever so softly delivered clothesline. Young Undertaker reaches his corner and Spivey and Hawk get tagged in. Intense lockup, center of the ring, into the corner the action goes. Vicious knife edge chop on Spivey, Irish whip into the opposite corner. Hawk attempts the spear, goes face first into the ring post and falls outside. Dangerous Dan Spivey rams Hawk's shoulder into the post. Back in the ring, Spivey works the left arm of Hawk. Tag is made to young Undertaker, who proceeds to walk the ropes and delivers a stiff blow to Hawk's back. Center of the ring, Undertaker working on Hawk's left arm. Hawk mounts a comeback with some stiff looking right hands. Undertaker gets thrown to the ropes, gains momentum, and back to working the right arm goes young Undertaker. Both men return to a vertical base. Undertaker once again tries old school, pays for it dearly by tumbling down to the canvas. Tag is made to both Spivey and Animal. Irish whip on Spivey, drop kick on Spivey, drop kick on young Undertaker, power slam on Spivey. Animal drops the elbow and Spivey kicks out. Undertaker is now in the ring for some tandem offense on Animal. Animal reverses the back body drop, Dario clothesline on the Skyscrapers. Hawk and Animal double clothesline young Undertaker off the ring, and Spivey is now on the shoulders of Animal for the Doomsday device. Doomsday connects, Animal covers Spivey, and Undertaker with a chair stops the referee's count as Teddy Long is standing in the ring outside area. Paul Ellering punches Teddy Long, Hawk punches Undertaker, Spivey breaks Hawk's offense, Animal gets thrown outside the ring, and Spivey and Undertaker deliver a pile driver to Hawk, missing the chair completely.
At the end of the match, we're gonna get the heat, right? Get some heat, leave him laying. Danny remembered he didn't like the booking up to this point. So Danny pulls out a chair and he commences to whooping the Road Warriors like ain't nobody seen the Road Warriors get whooped, right? And I'm just kind of there filling up space. Danny was going to town to the point where I'm like, we're gonna fight, so I'm just watching, and I'm gathering all this in, and Boom, finishes. So we go back up. I sit down. Danny's probably 4 feet or so down. I'm right by the door here. As soon as they come up, well, we're about to go. As soon as somebody says something, I'm coming. They come around the corner. Oh, Danny, thank you, man. That was great. Great heat, right? And I'm just sitting there baffled. I'm like, what the hell has just happened here? Yeah, I'm completely dumbfounded for any explanation of what just happened, right? Good job, kid. And went on about their business, right? Finally, I just kind of cocked my head and I looked down at Danny. This is what I get from Danny. I just get to go. Danny drops me off at the Ramada. He goes, hey, Mark, when you get to TV tomorrow, tell Ole I'm going home. I'm done. Now I had enough. I'm going home. Drop me off, drives off.
After the Skyscrapers tag team ended, young Undertaker was left in limbo without a defining path to take for the immediate future. At the time, WCW had a working relationship with Japanese promotion New Japan Pro Wrestling. Young Undertaker went on a month-long tour of Japan, wrestling under the name Punisher Dice Morgan, exclusively in tag team matches with a variety of tag team partners that included Bam Bam Bigelow and Scott Hall. Young Undertaker as the Punisher Dice Morgan delivered strong performances through March of 1990, even challenging Masa Saito and Shinya Hashimoto for the IWGP Tag Team titles, while teaming with Big Scott Hall, who was rocking the sweet Magnum PI mustache. After the New Japan excursion, it was time to regroup. Still being managed by Theodore Long, WCW once again had Young Undertaker establish himself in a series of short enhancement matches. During this time, Undertaker finally developed a bona fide finishing move, after years of either beating opponents with the elevated leg drop or the flying clothesline. Young Undertaker would give his new finishing move, the hard punch, to a collection of bottom-of-the-card WCW enhancement talent. Manny Lobo,
right on target with the hard punch.
Rick Ryder,
Certainly one of the most dangerous moves in our sport, the NWA, and there it goes.
Dino Hernandez,
Dino Hernandez, victim of the hard punch.
Rocky King,
There's your hard punch.
among many others, picking up wins in a series of both handicap and singles matches during April of 1990. Eventually, young Undertaker's Mean Mark Callous persona grew to the point where he needed to evolve. Undertaker would change managers from Teddy Long to Paulie Dangerously, the future creative mind behind ECW. Paul Heyman took young Undertaker to another step higher in the ladder, but still, young Undertaker was being used in short enhancement matches and little else. Young Undertaker would continue to deliver hard punches left and right to the local enhancement talent of the day. Bob Morgan,
Set up now for the hard punch.
Max Miles,
Here comes that hard punch. Boom! There it was, Max Miles.
Team Powerhouse Parker,
Watching Channel 61, I think you might have a little indigestion after that.
and a few other wrestlers in the WCW mid-card, like the future loose cannon Brian Pillman and the bane of CM Punk's existence, Johnny Ace.
May have taken himself right out of this match.
There's the hard punch.
The only shining moment of the WCW career of young Undertaker came in the Great American Bash pay-per-view, challenging for the United States Heavyweight title against the Ultra Babyface Lex Luger.
You got this match coming up, the Great American Bash with Lex Luger. Undertaker was working through an injury.
I had a match coming up and my hip was already bad.
His hip had popped out of socket. He shouldn't even be walking his dog in the park.
Even back then. It got much worse, but I was already limping.
That's the match that Vince saw.
You know, talking to my buddy Bruce, I'm like, Bruce, my hip is jacked. He goes, just go out there. Vince is going to be watching, right?
Mean Mark Callous, young Undertaker, walks to the ring towering over his manager Paul Heyman, pointing to the camera with vicious intent. Moments later, Lex Luger, a man that always seemed uncomfortable being on camera, walks to the ring wearing Bret Hart's pink colors. The referee Matt Atkins displays the United States title to the camera. Young Undertaker takes some advice from his manager as Luger paced back and forth in the ring. Luger and Undertaker lock up straight into the corner. The referee stops Luger's offense. Luger, the babyface, immediately hits the referee's warning. Both men eyeball each other. Another lockup. Undertaker grabs a wrist lock on Luger's right arm. Luger soon reverses. The Undertaker sells straight into the corner. The action is stopped by referee's command. Undertaker throws up his hands. Luger seems lost in the center of the ring as the people chant, "Polly sucks." Again another lockup. The match restarts. Luger gets the upper hand and has Undertaker's arm behind his back. Undertaker reverses with a drop toe hold, attempting a chokehold. Soon Luger reverses. Again Luger has Undertaker's arm back into a vertical base. Undertaker reaches for the ropes to break the hold. Again the match grinds to a halt. Again a lockup, arm drag on Undertaker. Luger again stalls instead of wrestling the match. Yet another lockup. In the corner, right hand by Undertaker on Luger, covering the three sides of the ring. Irish whip to the corner. Undertaker with the elbow misses Luger and Luger grabs the wrist. Undertaker with the Irish whip sending Luger to the ropes, hoping to catch Luger with a clothesline. Here comes Luger with a crossbody, pinfall, kick out at 2, another arm drag, this time with a takeover. Luger again stalls with the Undertaker selling Luger's offense on his left arm. Attempt a reversal. Luger continues the hold on the arm. Irish whip reversal, a variation of the International, ending with the Undertaker attempting the hard punch. Irish whip to the opposite ropes and big boot to the face of Luger. Again Luger covers the corner selling. Luger gets choked in the second rope. Undertaker grabs Luger's wrist. Luger down to his knee sells Undertaker's offense down to the mat. Undertaker leans hard on Luger. Luger refuses to quit, comes back to a vertical base. Undertaker walks the ropes. Vintage Undertaker on Luger. Luger mounts a comeback with some gut punches followed by an elbow. Luger charges the Undertaker. Undertaker dodges and Luger falls outside of the ring. Luger attempts to get back in the ring. Referee is distracted. Luger then gets some outside of the ring punishment, eats the wooden steps and the announce desk. Luger attempts to climb back in the ring. Undertaker headbutts Luger. Luger with the Irish whip reversal into a sunset flip. Pinfall attempt. Another Irish whip into the corner. Again Luger dodges. Both men trade punches center of the ring. Irish whip reversal hoping for the back body drop. Undertaker with a punch to the back. Front face lock. Suplex on Luger. Luger no sells the suplex. Luger is a house of fire. Luger clotheslines the Undertaker into oblivion. Luger puts the Undertaker into the torture rack. The referee is knocked out by the Undertaker's dangling feet. Heyman gets in the ring, striking Luger with the huge 1980s mobile phone. The referee wakes up with the aid of Paul Heyman. Undertaker covers Luger, still Luger kicks out. Back to a vertical base, right hand on Luger, short clothesline on Luger. Luger is laying spent on the ropes for the Undertaker to hard punch. Heyman interferes but pays for it dearly. Luger clotheslines the Undertaker. Luger pins Undertaker for the 1, 2, 3 and still the United States champion Lex Luger. Young Undertaker, having signed a one-year contract with WCW, was already in talks for a contract renewal, but what Young Undertaker thought was going to be an easy negotiation turned out to be the end of Young Undertaker's time with World Championship Wrestling.
My contract comes up, right? I go in to renegotiate my contract, and so I'm thinking I'm gonna get a little bump. Like, I'm not looking for the mega deal, I'm just looking for a little bit of bump. So I go in, I remember Jim Hurd, Jim Barnett, Ole Anderson, all in the CNN tower there. Say the truth, kid.
You're a great athlete, kid.
He says, no one will ever pay money to watch you wrestle.
You do great things in the ring, but no one's ever gonna pay money to see you wrestle.
Wow, looked me square in the eyes, didn't blink when he said it. And I knew at that point, I was like, okay, I'm done here.
From Death Valley, I give you The Undertaker!
Thank you for watching this trip down memory lane. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments below. Feel free to press that like button and also subscribe for more future content just like this, or better. This has been fun, thank you for watching!